The cafe was alive with laughter, the soft clinking of coffee cups, and the hum of conversations. But for Sienna, it was all silence. She sat by the window, her dark brown eyes flicking between the door and her reflection in the glass. Her hands trembled as she adjusted her white scarf, trying to appear calm. The world outside moved fast and loud, but inside her time had stopped. She had rehearsed this day for weeks, her first real date in years. But the weight in her chest told her this moment wouldn't go as she dreamed. If you believe in kindness, empathy, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Let's spread stories that remind the world how powerful a little kindness can be. The Sienna had lost her hearing at the age of 9 after a severe fever took more than her health. It took her sound. Since then, silence had become her companion. She learned sign language, lip reading, and the art of pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. Her mother used to tell her, one day, someone will listen with their heart, not their ears. But people rarely did. Her date, Ryan, arrived 15 minutes late, his phone still in hand as he scanned the cafe before spotting her. His smile was quick, polite, and already distracted. Sienna waved softly, her fingers signing, hello. He didn't understand, of course. Few ever did. She had mentioned she was deaf on the dating app, but most men either disappeared or treated it like a novelty. Ryan sat down, mouthing words too quickly for her to catch. She tried to follow, nodding, guessing at phrases, her heart pounding with the effort to seem normal. He kept checking his phone between sips of coffee, frowning when she didn't respond right away. Then he leaned forward, speaking slower, louder, as if volume could bridge silence. Sienna tried to write on her notepad, explaining that she could read lips if he spoke naturally. But his eyes rolled in irritation. "This is too hard," he muttered, and though she couldn't hear it, she saw the shape of the words perfectly on his lips. When he stood up, she thought he was going to the restroom. Instead, he grabbed his jacket, said something short, and walked out. Just like that. No goodbye, no message, no kindness. The chair across from her stayed empty, mocking her. She sat still, blinking back tears she refused to let fall. Around her, conversations continued, people laughing, couples leaning close, baristas calling out names she couldn't hear. In that sea of sound, she was an island of quiet loneliness. She looked down at her hands, trembling now not from nerves but heartbreak. Why does everyone leave? She thought. Am I that hard to love? Then something caught her eye. At the next table, a man was sitting with a little girl, about 6 years old. The girl had bright red ribbons in her hair and a half-eaten cupcake in front of her. The man looked to be in his mid-30s. Tired eyes, soft beard, wearing a faded blue shirt. But his gaze wasn't pitying, it was gentle. When Sienna tried to look away, embarrassed, he caught her glance and smiled. Then, slowly, he lifted his hands and signed to her. You deserve better. For a moment she froze. No one had ever signed to her in public before, certainly not a stranger. Her heart skipped. She signed back hesitantly. You know sign language? He nodded. My daughter, he gestured toward the little girl. She's deaf too. Sienna looked at the girl, who now waved shyly, her tiny fingers spelling her name, Mila. Sienna smiled softly and signed back. Hello, Mila. The girl giggled, signing excitedly to her father that the pretty lady could talk like her. The man leaned toward Sienna, signing again. I'm Noah. His movements were smooth and fluent, like someone who didn't just learn sign language. He lived it. Sienna's chest tightened as warmth replaced the ache that Ryan had left behind. They continued talking through signs, simple at first. Her name, what she did for work, how she liked her coffee. She told him she was a freelance illustrator who drew children's books. His eyes lit up when she mentioned it, saying Mila loved books before bed. They talked for nearly an hour, time slipping away unnoticed. Noah told her he had lost his wife 4 years ago in a car accident, and raising Mila alone was hard but beautiful. There was no awkwardness, no pity, just connection. Every time he looked at her, he didn't see her as broken. He saw her as whole. When Sienna left the cafe that day, she carried more than her sketchbook. She carried a feeling she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Over the next few weeks, Noah and Sienna kept crossing paths. At first by coincidence, then by intention. He'd show up at the park where she often sketched, Mila running ahead to greet her like an old friend. They'd spend afternoons feeding ducks, drawing pictures in the grass, and signing stories to Mila, who laughed at every silly gesture. Sienna noticed how Noah never treated her deafness like a limitation. He signed with ease, made sure Mila saw his hands, and always looked Sienna in the eyes. He didn't avoid her silence, he filled it with presence. For the first time she felt seen, but old fears lingered. One afternoon, as they walked along the riverside, Sienna stopped suddenly. Her signs were shaky as she asked, "Why are you being kind to me?" Noah frowned, confused. She continued, "People usually feel sorry, then they leave." He sighed, kneeling a bit so she could see his hands clearly. "Because kindness isn't pity, and love isn't about what someone can't do. It's about what they make you feel." Her eyes glistened, the world blurring around him. He touched his heart, then pointed to her. "You make me feel peace." That night, Sienna went home and cried, not from sadness, but because she finally believed her mother's words. 2 months passed. The seasons shifted from summer's warmth to autumn's gold. Sienna's life bloomed quietly alongside Noah's. Mila often came to her small art studio, coloring beside her while Sienna worked on her new project. A children's book inspired by a little girl who could not hear but could see beauty in silence. The publisher loved it, asking her to dedicate it to someone special. She didn't hesitate. She wrote, "For those who listen with their hearts." But fate, as always, tested that happiness. One crisp afternoon, Sienna received an offer from a major art company in another city. A dream job that could change her life, yet accepting it meant leaving Noah and Mila behind. That night she sat alone by her window, sketchbook on her lap, torn between love and ambition. She had spent years being invisible. Now the world wanted to see her. But what about the ones who had already seen her when no one else did? The next day, she met Noah at the park. Mila was chasing leaves while they sat on a bench, the silence between them heavy. She signed slowly, "I got a job offer in the city." Noah looked down, his hands still. "That's amazing," he signed finally, smiling faintly, though his eyes betrayed the ache. "You deserve it, but it's far," she added. He hesitated before signing. Sometimes the best kind of love lets you fly. Tears welled up. He was always selfless, always understanding, even when it hurt. She wanted to stay. She wanted to tell him he was the reason she began believing again. But the words didn't come. She reached out, tracing his fingers with hers, memorizing the warmth. Then she whispered, though she knew he wouldn't hear, "Thank you for seeing me." 3 months passed. The city lights were brighter than she'd imagined, the studio busier, her name suddenly known in art circles. Yet every night as she closed her eyes, she saw 2 faces, one gentle, one innocent, waiting by a park bench that existed only in her heart. She tried to move on, to silence the longing, but it never left. One winter morning, while preparing for her first public book signing, she flipped open a copy of her newly printed book. Inside the dedication, someone had added something in careful handwriting. "And for those who remind us that love doesn't need sound to be heard." Her breath caught. She turned the page, and there, tucked inside, was a drawing. Mila's little stick figure family, her dad and Sienna holding hands under the sun. Her heart leaped. That weekend she returned to her hometown. The park was quiet, trees bare from winter's chill. She saw them near the frozen pond, Noah helping Mila build a small snowman, both laughing silently. When he turned and saw her, his expression froze, disbelief melting into the warmest smile she'd ever seen. Mila dropped her snowball and ran straight into Sienna's arms. Sienna knelt, hugging her tight before looking up at Noah. Her hands trembled as she signed, "I missed my silence." He frowned in confusion until she added, "Because my silence had you in it." Noah's eyes filled as he stepped closer, brushing snow from her hair. His fingers moved slowly, deliberately. "So, are you staying?" She smiled through her tears, signing, "If you'll have me." He touched her cheek softly, signing back, "Always." The 3 of them stood there in the fading daylight, laughter spilling, not from sound but from the kind of joy that didn't need words. And for the first time, Sienna realized that silence could be the loudest kind of love.